Did you know that in 19th century Kerala, women belonging to the marginalised caste identities had to pay a Mula karam or breast tax to be able to cover their breasts with a cloth? Our society is no stranger to clothing being used as a tool of repression, especially when it comes to women. Kerala, which today is touted as a standard for progress in spheres like literacy, has been witness to a horrific account of cruelty which led to a revolt, which eventually led to the end of the breast tax. In this Feminist Archive video, we take a deep dive into the history and significance of the Channar Revolt. The Channar Revolt, also known as Channar Lahala, took place in the early 1800s in Travancore, modern-day Kerala. In 19th century, Travancore upper caste women like the Nayars were expected to bare their upper bodies only in temples in front of the priest, who was considered an authority of God. But Dalit women and women from other marginalized caste identities were not allowed to wear a cloth over their breasts in public. As a matter of fact, baring your breasts in front of members of the high caste was seen as a display of respect. If any woman disagreed with the practice, they were obliged to pay a breast tax. The amount of the tax was quite shockingly determined by the size of their breasts. Clothing was considered a sign of wealth and prosperity, and people from marginalized caste identities were simply not entitled to it. Finally, it was the women of the Nadar community who initiated a change against it. In 1813, to contain the rebellion, the then British government stepped in. The Dewan of the Travancore Court, Colonel John Munro, decreed that Nadar women could cover their breasts only if they had converted to Christianity first, and then they would only wear long blouses similar to Muslims or Syrian Christians of the time. Nadar women were forbidden to wear the Nayar shaf and instead were allowed to wear the kupayam, which is a type of jacket. The decree was not enough for the women of the Nadar community. For them, it was not just a matter of modesty, but had become a symbol of equal rights. They started questioning why they should not be dressed like other Hindu women. The reaction to this was that the upper caste Nayars soon took to tearing these women's clothes apart in public. Complaints were also filed in courts against this dress change, as members of the Nadar community also refused to provide free labor for the upper caste. In 1829, the government of Travancore ordered these women to refrain from covering their upper bodies. The Channar Revolt or the Channar Mutiny left images of people stripping the women of their upper clothes and houses being burned. Things heated up even more as slavery was abolished in Travancore in 1855 and the upper caste felt like they were losing control. The king proclaimed again in 1859 that Nadar women will not be allowed to dress like their upper caste counterparts. Amongst the many stories of the rebellious women of Travancore that have been ignored by historians, the story of Nangeli is that which stands out. Nangeli belonged to the central region of Kerala in a place called Cherthala. Enraged at the idea that the dimensions of her breasts would determine how much she would have to pay, she cut off her breasts and handed them to the officials. Her body succumbed to the bleeding and she passed away the same day. Also in protest of the breast tax, her husband jumped into her funeral pyre out of grief. Following the death of Nangeli, the breast tax system was annulled in Travancore. The place she lived came to be known later as Mula, which means land of the breasted woman. However, it is a shame that Nangeli has found no mention in Kerala's official history records. The Channar Revolt is said to have been one of the very first struggles for women's liberation in Kerala. Cries for equality began to rise not just from various parts of Kerala, but from the whole of South India after the Channar Revolt. The agitation to end Uziamvela or work without pay, the agitation to secure entry into temples, the agitation to secure the right to walk on public roads, all these struggles that went on to change the face of Kerala were inspired by the success of the Channar Revolt.